Welcome back to another crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK, and today I am sharing with you the sad square for the In the Mood blanket. This blanket is made up of 7 different granny squares that you will decide to make depending on your tracked mood over 52 weeks of the year. If you'd like to find out more about the In the Mood crochet project, you can find the link in the description box that will tell you all about how to get tracking your moods and all the different squares that are included in this event. The yarn that I'm using for my In the Mood granny square blanket is this Hayfield Spirit double knitting, which is the same as a US size 3 yarn. This is an 80% acrylic, 20% wool, and it has the most wonderful colours, and they work up, as you can see, very beautifully. The maximum amount of yarn you'll need for any of these granny squares is about 50 metres. This one I think only uses 35 metres, so it's not too heavy on the yarn usage. We're going to be using the recommended hook size for this yarn, which is a 4mm hook, and we'll be achieving a finished size of 6 inches with this square. The only other tool you'll need are your needle and your scissors to weave in those ends and fasten off. So gather your materials and let's get started. We're going to begin by making a slip knot and placing that onto our hook. And we are then going to make a chain of 4. So we just yarn over and pull through 4 times. That's 2, 3 and 4. We're then going to slip stitch to the first chain that we made, and this will create a ring, which is what we're going to work our stitches into. We're always going to work into that center hole, not the hole that we just created by slip stitching. We're going to work right into the middle, and I recommend working over your tail at the same time. We're going to begin round 1 by making a chain of 3. So we just yarn over and pull through 3 times. That's 1, 2 and 3. Now this chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, which is a US double crochet, the same as a UK treble crochet. We're then going to continue on working into the center of our ring, working an additional 3 double crochets. So we yarn over, we're inserting into that middle ring there, yarning over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So it looks like we now have 2 US double crochets, the same as 2 UK treble crochets. I'm going to work a further 2, so we yarn over, reinsert into the middle of that ring. I'm working over my tail at the same time. So this is number 2, and yarn over to create a third, pull through 2, pull through 2. We're going to create our first corner by making a chain of 2, so we yarn over and pull through 2 times. And then we're going to be working back into the center of a ring again, but we're working in blocks of 4 double crochets. So we yarn over the hook, reinsert, still working over my tail, bring the loop up, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that's number 1. Repeat that for number 2. Yarn over for number 3. Yarn over for number 4. So we have a block of 4 US double crochets. We're going to make our next corner. So we yarn over and pull through twice to create a chain of 2. And then we repeat that twice more by starting with those 4 double crochets worked into the middle. So that's 1, 2, 3, and number 4. We're going to make our chain of 2 to create our corner, and we just have to make one final block of 3 double crochets. If like me you're running out of space, you can just bring your stitches around a little bit, and then you've got more space to work into the center of the ring, and I'm still working over my tail. So we're making a further 4 double crochets worked into that same center of the ring. This is number 2, 3 and number 4. All that's left to do before we join is to make a chain of 2 to create that final corner. So we'll have 4 corners, and we're going to slip stitch to the top of our chain 3, and I'm just going to insert my hook kind of through the middle, and you can see that there are 2 loops there to pick up. Just going to make sure I get them both on there, pull through, and through the loop on my hook to create that slip stitch to join. You've got, remembering that original chain 3 counts as our first, and then you've got your 4 chain 2 corner spaces for your corners. Going into round 2, we're going to start with a chain of 2, 1 and 2. This chain 2 does not count as a stitch, so we're going to work into the same place that we slip stitched into, so right underneath our chain 2. We're going to yarn over and we're going to work a US double crochet into the same stitch as our chain 2, and then we're going to work into the top of the next stitch. Now the reason I'm pulling mine apart is I want to make sure that I get right into that correct stitch. So we had a total of 4, so that was number 1. Here's number 2. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the next stitch, just underneath those 2 loops, and work that next double crochet, yarn over for number 3, and then work into that 4th stitch, and that brings us to our first corner. Now into each of the corners around, we are going to be working 2 double crochets. So that's number 1, reinsert for number 2. Going to keep that chain 2 corner space. So we work 2 chain 2s. So we work a chain 2, and then we're going to work the second part of the stitch into the same chain 2 space, which is a further 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. We're then going to be working into the top of each of the next stitch, working 1 double crochet, but you can see that this one has almost disappeared. So you might need to move your corner out of the way to find that first stitch. You can also follow up from your posts of the stitch in the previous round. So if you follow it up, see that nice hole there, that's where we work that first stitch. So we're working 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 stitches. So that's number 1, 2, 3, and there's number 4, to bring us to our next corner, where we work 2 double crochets. That's 1 and that's number 2. We chain 2 to keep the chain 2 corner space, and then we work a further 2 double crochets, and that completes our corner. Ready to repeat around, working 1 double crochet into each of the next 4, work our corner, repeat that again, back to the last corner. So continue around, working 1 double crochet into each of the next 4 before working 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet into the corner space, repeat that again to your final corner, and I'm going to meet you when you're ready to join round 2, so we can go on and start working our special stitch for the In the Mood sad square. So I'm just working my final double crochet in that last corner, done my chain 2, followed by those 2 double crochets, and then we're ready to join this round, and we're going to be joining to the top of the first double crochet that we made, not into that starting chain 2. So if I follow the post of the stitch up, there's the stitch, pop my hook through to pick up the 2 loops, and slip stitch to join. So at the end of round 2, you should have a total stitch count of 32 double crochets. You should still have your chain 2 spaces for your corners. Now round 3, we're going to be starting with our special stitch, which is the paired half double. We start with a chain of 1, and we're going to work into the same stitch that we joined into, working our first paired half double crochet into the same and the next stitch. So we yarn over, we're inserting our hook into the same stitch as our chain 1, yarn over, bring a loop up, we yarn over, insert our hook into the next, yarn over to bring a 5th loop up, then we yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. You probably sat there thinking, Fiona, this is the same as a half double crochet 2 together. But this is actually not decreasing our stitch count, because the next thing we're going to do is to make a chain 1, which keeps our stitch count the same. We're then going to do the same again over the next 2 stitches. So we don't work into this stitch here, we've skipped that, and we've done the chain 1 that counts for that stitch. So we yarn over, we're inserting into the next stitch along. So you can see that you've worked into that because there's something coming out of it. So we yarn over, insert, bring our loop up, yarn over, insert into the next, yarn over, bring our 5th loop up, yarn over, pull through all 5 loops and make our chain 1. Going to repeat that again, and that will bring us to our corner. So we yarn over, we're inserting into the next stitch because we've already worked into that one there. So we yarn over, insert, bring our loop up, yarn over, insert into the next, bring our loop up or our 5th loop up before we yarn over, pull through all 5 loops and make a chain 1, and then we're ready to work our corner. Now we're doing half double crochets into this corner, so we yarn over, insert, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, work a second half double crochet into the same chain 2 corner space. We then chain 2 before working a further 2 half double crochets into the same chain 2 corner space. So that was 1 and this is 2. So you can see those beautiful paired half double crochets with a chain 1 in between, and they really create a very nice texture. Once you've completed that corner, we're going to start our first paired half double into that stitch that likes to disappear underneath our corner. So if you need to move them out of the way, you can. And then we are ready to start our paired half double crochets. So we yarn over, there's the first stitch, and the top of the stitch is just to the side of it. So we insert, bring our loop up, yarn over again, reinsert into the next. So we have our 5 loops, pull through all 5 and chain 1. We then work into the next stitch. So we yarn over, we've worked into this one, so we're going into the next one, bring your loop up, yarn over, bring a loop up, 5 on your hook, pull through all 5 and chain 1. You see that we've worked into this one, so this is the next one again. We're repeating another paired half double, followed by a chain 1. And repeating that again. Into the next, yarn over, insert into the next again, pull through all 5 loops and chain 1. That brings us back to our corner once again, where we're working 2 half double crochets. That's number 2. We chain 2, work back into the same 2 corners, into the same chain 2 corner space, and work a further 2 half double crochets. So when you look at that completed side, you will have your 2 half double crochets in your corner, paired half double, paired half double, paired half double, paired half double. So you should have 5 paired half doubles across each side and 4 chain 1 spaces plus your chain 2 at each corner. We're going to repeat this all the way around our square. Just make sure you move your corner out of the way to find that first one, and we're working a paired half double across the next 2 stitches followed by a chain 1 all the way across to our corner. In those corners we are working 2 half double crochets, a chain 2 and a further 2 half double crochets, and then repeating once again for the final side of our square, and then I'm going to meet you to join once you've worked your final corner. So we're just working a half double crochet, 2 of those, followed by a chain 2 and a further 2 half double crochets, all into that same chain 2 corner space. So repeat that around to your final corner, and I'll meet you for our final paired half double. I'm just working that final half double crochet in my last corner, and you can see that we have just 2 stitches remaining to work in this round. We're just going to work our paired half double across those next 2 stitches, make our chain 1, and then we are ready to join to the top of that first paired half double that we made. So you can see you've got your chain 1, we're going to skip that, and this stitch is the top of our paired half double, and that is where we're going to join. So we just slip stitch through there to join our 3rd round. At the end of round 3, you should have, you should have 16 paired half doubles, 4 on each side. you've got 16 half double crochets, 4 in each corner with a chain 2 in between, so you have 4 chain 2 corner spaces as well. Going into round 4, we are going to start with a chain of 2, which does not count as a stitch, and we're going to work a US double crochet into that same stitch as our chain 2. We're then going to work into that chain 1 space that we made in between those paired half doubles, and then we're going to work into the top of our paired half double. You can either go into the top of that chain 1, which is bang in the middle of your paired half double, and then you can work into the chain 1 space as well, and each time we're just placing a US double crochet, working into each of those chain 1 spaces and into the top of those paired half doubles. We're then going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next half double crochet, and this is where it can get a little bit confusing because it's hard to see where these stitches are. So we're going to work into this stitch here with a double crochet, and then the next half double crochet is actually just in front of that half double crochet post. So there's the stitch and there's the hole that we need to work through because there's our chain 2. So we're going to yarn over and just go underneath and work that next double crochet into the corner, which is this chain 2 space here. We are working 2 double crochets, a chain 2 and a further 2 double crochets. That's 1 and 2. So if we look at what we've worked around already, we have in the top of where we joined, chain 1 space, the top of that paired half double into the chain 1, repeat, repeat. We've worked 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and I've done my corner wrong. No, I haven't. We've worked 1 double crochet into each of the next half double crochets here. I pulled my corner out because we should have 2 double crochets. I think I only had 1, a chain 2 and a further 2 double crochet. We're then going to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 half double crochets. So we have 1 there and 1 there. So we're working into this one with number 1, and number 2 goes into the next stitch just here. We're then going to work into the top of our paired half double. We're working another double crochet before working into the chain 1 space. We're going to repeat working into the top of that paired half double and into the chain 1 space across to the next corner, or just before the corner where we find those half double crochets again. Working my final paired half double crochet, which brings us to those 2 half double crochets before our corner. So we're just working into each of the next 2 stitches. So there was number 1, and number 2 is just to the side in front of the stitch. So we have 1 and 2, and then we're into our corner where we're working 2 double crochet, a chain 2 and a further 2 double crochets. So when you look across the whole side, you should have 2 double crochets worked into your corner, followed by 1, 2 double crochets worked into the top of your paired half double and into the chain 1 space. Repeat that across, which will bring you to your next 2 stitches to be worked into before you work your 2 into the corner. So across each side you should have 16 double crochets into each side of your square. So we're going to repeat this around across the next 2 sides, and I'll meet you back at our final corner to work those last few stitches together and join our round. So I've worked my final corner. We're going to work double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, work a double crochet into the top of that paired half double, if I can get my hook in, and then we need to work into that chain 1 space with our final double crochet. We're then going to join to the top of the first double crochet that we made, skipping that chain 2, we're joining to the top of that first stitch of the round with a slip stitch. So at the end of round 4, you should have a total of 64 double crochets, which is 16 on each side of your square, and you should have 4 chain 2 spaces where each of your corners are. Going into round 5, we're doing another round of our special stitch. So we start with a chain 1 that does not count. Going to work our first paired half double into the same as our chain 1 by yarning over and inserting, bringing that loop up, yarn over, insert into the next, bring a 5th loop up, yarn over and pull through all 5 loops and make a chain 1. We're going to repeat making our paired half double across the next 2 stitches with a chain 1 all the way across to our corner. So we're working that paired half double across the next 2 stitches, followed by a chain 1 all the way across to our corner. Just working my final one, and we'll be at first corner. Don't forget to do your chain 1. So we should now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paired half doubles, and 1, 2, 3, 4. This is our 5th chain 1 space there. Into the corner we are working 2 half double crochets, that's 1 and 2, a chain of 2 followed by a further 2 half double crochets, that's 1 and 2. So just like before, you may find that your first stitch disappears underneath your corner, but we're going to repeat the same pattern of working our paired half double crochet into the next 2 stitches, across the next 2 stitches. I get my hook through and chain 1, and we're doing that all the way across to our next corner. So continue to repeat working your paired half double crochet across the next 2 stitches, followed by a chain 1 across those stitches over to your next corner, and I will meet you for our next corner. Once you've worked all the way across to your next corner, here's your 2 half doubles in your corner space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 paired half doubles with a chain 1 after each of them. Into our corners we are working 2 half double crochets, a chain of 2 and a further 2 half double crochets into that chain 2 corner space, and then we repeat across the next 2 sides again. Remember that your first stitch might be hidden underneath your corner, so just make sure you work into that first one. That's the trickiest one, is making sure you've worked into that one, and then repeat across, working a paired half double crochet over the next 2 stitches, followed by a chain 1. In your corners we're working 2 half double crochets, a chain 2 and a further 2 half double crochets. Repeat that around, all the way around to your last corner, and I will meet you for our last few stitches. So I've just completed my final corner and those 2 half double crochets, chain 2, 2 half double crochets. Make sure I find that first stitch that could be hiding under our corner. We're working paired half double crochet, chain 1, repeat that across to the next 2 stitches. One final paired half double crochet into those next 2 stitches, a final chain 1, and then we're joining to the top of that first paired half double crochet that we made at the beginning of the round. So at the end of round 5, You should have a total of 32 paired half double crochets, which is 8 on each side. And of course you've got in your corners 4 half double crochets with a nice chain 2 in between. I've got a colour change coming through, which is lovely. So going straight into round 6, we're starting with our chain of 2. That does not count as a stitch, and we're working a US double crochet into that same stitch as our chain 2. And then we're going straight into our chain 1 space to work our next double crochet. The repeat is the same as round 4, where we work 1 double crochet into the top of the paired half double crochet of the previous round, and 1 US double crochet into that chain 1 space, and we repeat that across to our first corner. So we're working 1 double crochet into the top of that paired half double, and then 1 into the chain 1 space. Don't forget that chain 1 space there. And then we have those 2 half double crochets to work into before our corner. So there's number 1, and number 2 is just to the side of the stitch, a little bit of a different place than where we find our double crochets. You should be looking a little something like that. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 double crochets so far. Into our corner we are working 2 double crochets, that's 1 and 2, a chain of 2, and then a further 2 double crochets all into that chain 2 corner space. We then need to work 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, which are those top of those half double crochets from the previous row, and then we're ready to work into the top of our paired half double crochet and then into our chain 1 space. We're going to repeat this all the way across to the last 2 stitches before our corner, working 1 double crochet into the top of each paired half double and into each chain 1 space. So continue across and I'll meet you for those last few stitches before our corner. Working into that chain 1 space after my last paired half double, then there's just those 2 half double crochets before the corner that we need to work into. There's that pesky one. And then we're back to our corner space where we work 2 double crochets, a chain of 2 and a further 2 double crochets. So across each edge of your square between your chain 2 corner spaces you should have 24 double crochets, and we're going to repeat this all the way around the next 2 sides of our square, and I'm going to meet you at our final corner where we'll work those last few stitches together for round 6. I'm just working my final double crochet into that chain 2 corner space and continuing working across after my last corner, working 1 double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, a double crochet into the top of my next paired half double, into the chain 1 space, repeat that again. I've just got that final paired half double to work into. And most importantly, don't forget to work into that last chain 1 space. We're then going to join to the top of the first double crochet that we made, ignoring that chain 2, and we're just joining with a slip stitch. And mine's not perfectly flat either. If yours is, oh, actually not too bad. It's definitely going to need a block, this one. So at the end of round 6, you should have a total of 96 double crochets and your 4 chain 2 spaces. Going into the final round of this square, we simply start with a chain of 1, no more paired half doubles. We're just working 1 round of half double crochet, but that chain 1 does not count. So we're just yarning over and working 1 half double crochet into each stitch around to the corner. It's very simple, nice half double crochets. And then once we've reached that corner, we are only working 1 half double crochet, our chain 2, and a further half double crochet into this corner, because otherwise our stitch counts are going to be wildly out with some of the other squares. We're then going to work 1 double crochet into each stitch across to the next corner. Just make sure you get that first stitch in. It always likes to hide. And then work your corner again, remembering that we are working 1 half double crochet, a chain 2, and a further 1 half double crochet into our corners for this round 7. We can then repeat that all the way around the square, and I'll meet you when you've reached the space to join. So you've reached the end of this round. We can join together and fasten off. I'll see you in a few moments. Just continue around working 1 half double crochet into each stitch, making 1 half double, chain 2, 1 half double into your corners, and I'll meet you at the end of the round ready to join and finish this square. So I'm just working my final half double crochet of this round. We're going to skip the chain 1 and join into that first half double crochet that we made, but I'm not going to do that because I'm going to fasten off and use the invisible join. So I'm just going to fasten off. I haven't joined. I'm just going to bring that tail through and then grab my darning needle, thread that on and make the invisible join, as I'm finding that this is giving me the great finish I need for my granny squares. So I'm going underneath the stitch that we were joining into, pulling that nice and tight and going through the back loop of the stitch, because this is the right side of our square showing. Make that nice and tight and it creates an almost invisible join. And I'm just going to secure that using one of the back loops of this last stitch that we made with a knot. I know lots of people don't make knots in their crochet, but I do because I like things to not come apart. It's pulling down a little bit, so I'm just going to encourage that up and readjust that to make those stitches look nice and even, and it just makes a beautiful invisible join. I'm going to weave my ends in. So thank you so much for joining me to make your very own sad in the mood square. I can't wait to see how yours has turned out. Please feel free to tag me in a photo, and I will see you in the next video.